Have you ever held a meeting on August 20th and come up with a great video idea? And then on August 26th submitted the final script, just for another bigger channel to get the video before you? Well, let's just pretend that that other video doesn't exist for now. Belgian Prime Minister Charles Michel submitted the formal resignation of his government to King Philippe. Federal elections were held in the country, leading to a highly divided distribution of seats. Since then, many attempts have been made to form a government, and although the government of Prime Minister Wilmers was installed with a minority coalition in Parliament to rule Belgium during the Corona crisis, a proper government has still never been formed. Yes, you heard that right. Belgium has not had a real government in over 600 days. In this video, we'll talk you through the strange situation in Belgium and explain the peculiar and unique way that Belgium is structured, while also seeing if there's any way out of this mess for the Belgians, and if there's any way their country can be held together. If you want to support content like this, then consider checking out our merch store. We have a huge bunch of products available, from shirts and books to stickers and badges. We also have a huge collection of countries with shoes and enamel pin badges, including, of course, Belgium. Check out the whole store and all 27 EU badges by clicking the link in the description. Belgium is a federal constitutional monarchy, which means that the country has a king, Philippe I, who is the Belgian head of state, but he only really plays a ceremonial role. In reality, Belgium is a parliamentary democracy like most other Western countries. At the same time, it's also a federation, which means that a lot of governing power is delegated to regional states, like we see in Germany, France, or the United States. Belgium is also divided into 3 political regions, and then Flanders and Wallonia are further split into provinces, 5 in the Flemish region and 5 in the Walloon region. But that's not the only line of distinction that's made. Belgium is also split into 3 language communities: a Dutch-speaking community, a French-speaking community, and a German-speaking community. The reasons why Belgium is structured this way are mainly historical, so let's dive into a little bit of history. In the early 9th century AD, Charlemagne conquered large parts of Europe, including Belgium. When he passed away, his huge empire was split into 3. The Western realm grew to become France, the Eastern realm, the Holy Roman Empire, which is a precursor to modern-day Germany, and a Central realm that was quickly overwhelmed by the other 2. And modern-day Belgium became almost entirely part of the Holy Roman Empire. As a collection of many smaller feudal states, the Holy Roman Empire was highly decentralized, with the Holy Emperor wielding relatively little control. Moreover, feudal lords would often marry off their daughters to annex other feudal states. In today's Belgium and Netherlands, some of those states were French-speaking and others were Dutch-speaking. Mainly through marriage, the 17 feudal states in the region became part of the Burgundian Netherlands in the 14th and 15th century, which in turn came under the control of the Habsburgian dynasty of Austria through, you guessed it, marriage. Then, once again through marriage, all of Belgium, the Netherlands and Luxembourg came under the control of the Catholic King of Spain. The Protestant northern states successfully revolted, becoming the 7 united provinces of the Netherlands. However, the other 10 states in the south, being Catholic themselves, didn't revolt and instead remained part of Spain, until ultimately reverting back to Habsburgian rule. Several centuries later, after the defeat of Napoleon, it was decided at the Vienna Convention of 1815 that there should be one single state north of France, the United Kingdom of the Netherlands. In an attempt at unification, the southern French parts became the target of cultural assimilation from the north. This triggered the Belgian Revolt in 1830, leading to the foundation of the Kingdom of Belgium and Belgium's first king, Leopold I, on the 21st of July 1831, celebrated to this day as Belgium's National Day. It may seem that we've gone on a major historical tangent, but you can also see that throughout the years, Belgium has been mostly subjected to foreign rule, never really getting the chance to grow as a nation culturally. The Franco-Dutch split has also continued to run through Belgium today. To this very day, each language community has its own parliament, but on top of that, each of the political regions also has its own parliament. Thus, in total, Belgium has a whopping 6 parliaments. This is the result of a lengthy series of state reforms, arising out of past societal and financial tensions between Flanders and Wallonia, tensions which are sometimes still felt in the region. And that brings us back to the present day. How do politics in Belgium fare in 2020? Well, as you might expect at this point, not entirely smoothly. The degree of separation between Flanders and Wallonia, as well as the differences in languages and the state of their respective economies, also have significant impacts on the politics. Looking at the 2017 GDP per capita of the two regions, Flanders was at €35,300, while Wallonia was at €24,800, well below the national average of €34,300 in 2017. But to be fair to Wallonia, its economic design used to be focused around industry and the abundant coal reserves in the region. Back in the day, Wallonia was quite the economic powerhouse, but in the light of modern economic developments, it hasn't stood the test of time very well. If we take a look at Belgian politics, specifically the 2019 election results, you can clearly see a difference in voting patterns between the two. But on top of that, many of the parties only run in one of the two regions. So the largest Flanders party, N-VA, wasn't even on the ballot in Wallonia, nor was Wallonia's largest party, PS, who wasn't on the ballot in Flanders. And as it happens, these two parties also differ on opinions on various issues. On top of that, neither party, despite being the largest from their respective political areas, holds anything even remotely close to a majority in the national parliament. The N-VA is the largest in the country, but it only holds 25 out of the possible 150 seats, with the PS, the second largest party, only holding 20. As well as that, another 6 parties hold a number of seats ranging from 10 to 20. So coalition forming is a must in Belgian politics. This time round though, the Belgian politicians haven't managed that for over 600 days. This status quo turned out to be extremely problematic when the pandemic hit Belgium in early March. At that point, Belgium's national parliament approved what you could call a sort of interim government. The actual interim government at the time was installed in late 2019 to attend to some unfinished business from the previous government that resigned back in 2018. This government was led by Sophie Wilmès, head of the MR party, and was a coalition between 2 other smaller parties, together holding 38 out of 150 seats. In March 2020, she was given an official second short term to handle the coronavirus, with what's called condoned support from various opposition parties. The mandate of Wilmès' government lasted for 6 months and is now set to expire, so at this point it's back to the drawing board once again. It should be noted here that Belgium has a proportional representation voting system, so the principle is that if you get 10% of the votes, you get 10% of the seats. As such, you might ask, is Belgium the ultimate example of why proportional systems don't work? Well, probably not entirely. It is true that proportional representation more often leads to no party holding a majority in parliament, but this need not be a problem, and many other countries regularly operate successfully with coalition governments. As for Belgium, as you should know by now, there's a lot more going on than just the fact that Belgium has proportional representation. It's very plausible that the historical, societal and linguistic divisions give a better account for what's causing the Belgian nation such a political headache. But if you want us to delve deeper into the advantages and disadvantages of various voting systems, then do let us know in the comments below. Anyway, back to the main story. Apart from the design of Belgium's political system and the differences of political opinion across political regions, there's also a large split of opinion on what's arguably the nation's most fundamental conundrum. Should Belgium remain unified or split up? Again, we see division here. The biggest Flemish party, the N-VA, wants to split off, together with some other Flemish parties. But this separatist movement does not hold the majority in the national parliament. And for that matter, the largest Walloon party, the PS, wants to see the nation stay together. So even here there's a divergence. So there you have it. That's the situation in Belgium at the moment. It's certainly worrisome for the country and its people, and no one really knows what will eventually happen, or how long the system can hold out as it is. Ultimately, the deciding factor for whether Belgium as a country is tenable is the extent to which Belgians from across the country are convinced that staying together as Belgians is the best course forward, or whether the federation is a project that has run its course and must be discontinued. And this, in the end, is a political choice that the Belgians will have to make. What do you think will end up happening in Belgium? Will we see a separated Flanders and Wallonia in the near future? Or is Belgium simply facing a one-off crisis in its system, with many difficulties converging on the nation at the same time? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified every time we release a new video. Special thanks to our Patreon backers who make videos like this one possible. And if you want to see your name listed at the end of the videos just like these people, then be sure to back us on Patreon. There's a link to that in the description.